The SEC released its all SEC teams, and it kind of seems like Big Time Aggie got snubbed.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. I'm your host, Matt Galatzan of Texas A&M Aggies on SI. Welcome to Locked On Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live bets all season long. Harrison Reno joining me today, and Harrison, the SEC has released its all-conference teams. Multiple Aggies, I believe 6 Aggies made the list. There is one notable absence, which we will get to in a second, but let's go through it real quick. Your first team all SEC, Casey Concepcion made wide receiver 1. Trey Zuhn is also on first team. Casey Concepcion is also your all-purpose player. Cashius Howell is first team defensive line. Casey Concepcion is also the return specialist for the first team. You keep going on down the list. No second team Aggies, but there is a couple of notable ones in the third team. Mario Craver makes it in wide receiver 3. Offensive line, Chase Bizantis makes it in there. And then we have Taurean York coming in at third team all SEC linebacker. A good list of players. I think that there's probably a couple of more that could have been included in that list. But, you know, when it's all said and done, a lot of players made it. One notable exception, though, Harrison. Very big notable exception. Marcel Reed. Obviously, he's not going to be QB1 because he's not invited to New York, where Diego Pavia will be. So your Vandy boy makes it to New York, and he's also first team All-SEC. Not second team either. That honor goes to
Trinidad Chambliss.
Ty Simpson and Trinidad Chambliss, my Ole Miss guy. And then third team is, irrelevant at this point. It doesn't matter because Marcel Reed didn't make it. And I don't understand, Harrison. He was in the Heisman contention the entire season. It was Gunnar Stockton, by the way, everybody. He was in contention the entire season, and then he has one bad game against Texas, and all of a sudden he's completely off the list. Doesn't make sense to me. He had an incredible year. Not taking anything away from Gunnar Stockton, not taking anything away from Trinidad Chambliss or Ty Simpson or especially Diego Pavia, but it's not fair. He should be there. He should be there, Harrison.
He should. And I'm a little shocked that Ty Simpson wasn't first team All-SEC, to be quite honest with you. And that's, I get it. Diego Pavia is a Heisman candidate, although I don't know how much Diego Pavia is actually playing like a Heisman quarterback rather than just has a nice PR campaign going for him. But that's neither here nor there. That's for another show. Maybe a Locked On Vandy show. Who knows? Matt, it's kind of it's difficult because quarterback's obviously the one position on this list where you only really get one of them unless you're second team All-SEC. Then we get 2 quarterbacks apparently. I don't know what that personnel number would be in terms of what we classify that as, but it's hard, and especially for this year.
Offense.
I do think there were a good amount of like quarterbacks, high-level quarterback play in the SEC this year, which makes it, you're obviously always going to have a snub. But yeah, I thought Marcel Reed had a really good year, lived up to expectations, and I would love to know when these were put together, when these votes were had. I'm curious, like, was it taken into account the Texas A&M game before the voting? Or like, I would love to know the timeline on that just to see, what could have influenced the voters in this case. But, for the other ones that are on this list, I mean, none other than Cashius Howell and Casey Concepcion. Those are 2 big time players for Texas A&M and 2 guys who we talked about in the offseason, Matt, where it's like what this team's going to be, the success of this team, these 2 players are going to have to be a part of it. And Casey Concepcion came to Texas A&M. He was a freshman All-American, I believe, at the ACC. I believe he was the freshman ACC player of the year his freshman year. Then had last year happen, didn't really have quarterback play, and a lot of questions about that in terms of what happened last year. But then he comes to Texas A&M, has a quarterback, has a strong play, and he's winning awards. He's getting recognized.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised Mario Craver is third team, by the way. I thought he was right along with KC for the majority of the year. Kind of unfortunate that he got relegated to third team, but there's a lot of good receivers in the SEC this year. If you take a look at the list too, Brennan Thompson in there at third team makes sense. He had a great year for state. Chris Brazzell, I didn't watch a lot of Tennessee, so I guess he's pretty good. I didn't watch a whole lot of him though, so I can't speak to Chris Brazzell. Maybe you can. Isaiah Satania, Zachariah Branch, Ryan Wingo. You could argue that maybe Zachariah Branch had a better year than Mario Craver. Ryan Wingo had a lot of drop problems at Texas, so that is something that kind of puzzles me a little bit. Isaiah Satania, I don't blame him. He had a bad quarterback, so it is what it is. But I feel like Craver could have been a little bit higher, just in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought he had a really strong start to the year. Both he and Kevin Concepcion both had really strong starts. I remember what was it, the Notre Dame game pre-show before that one, where they were two of the top most explosive players in terms of receivers at the position, both going extremely crazy. So I'm surprised. I'm not sure what the qualifications are for all-purpose, but I'm a little surprised maybe we didn't see Craver take an all-purpose spot. But I'm not sure. I guess maybe that also has to do with returns, would be my guess, venture to say with that one. So maybe that's what held him back in that conversation. But yeah, I think you can always make arguments about who should be where and all that. But I mean, with this, another one, Matt, I'm looking kind of at the linebacker group. Taurean York not being first team maybe shocks you a little bit. I know CJ Allen had a really good year. I don't know much about Xavier Atkins and Josiah Trotter, but we're talking about a guy in New York that's probably going to be a top 60 pick. And to not see him on that first team All-SEC list is kind of shocking a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think they did a very good job with the linebackers, if I'm being totally honest. Taurean York was unbelievable this year in the way that he anticipated other opposing offenses and was constantly in the backfield and the way that he was tackling and all the different things he did. Anthony Hill not being a first team All-SEC linebacker is kind of confusing to me as well. That's a good group of linebackers. I'm not trying to take anything away from Xavier Atkins. I think CJ Allen should be there. I'm not trying to take anything away from Xavier Atkins or Josiah Trotter. I think they're both really, really good linebackers. It just kind of seems like Anthony Hill, Taurean York, and CJ Allen were the three best linebackers in the SEC all season long. Maybe I'm wrong. I didn't watch a ton of Missouri outside of the A&M game. So it's the coaches that voted on this poll, I believe. So it is what it is. The important thing is none of this matters because the Aggies are in the playoff and they look like like they're in a really good spot to take things the distance if they can get through this gauntlet. But also, a lot of other recognitions rolling in for the Aggies. We have multiple award winners. Postseason award winners already have been announced. We will tell you which Aggies have won awards so far when we come back from this break. We'll be right back. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet on the next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. If you've been using FanDuel during that Eagles-Chiefs game, for example, with that play or not Eagles-Chiefs, Eagles-Chargers game, for example, that Jalen Hurts play could have helped you hit the two turnover over-under in one play. It was unbelievable. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you for making Locked On Aggies your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Aggies with no interruptions. Members-only Discord access and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonaggies.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes below to learn more. If you're a true diehard Texas A&M fan, the Everydayer All Access tier is built for you. You'll get one-on-one text access with me, all access episodes, an exclusive newsletter, and 15% discount to the Locked On merch store. Head to lockedonaggies.supercast.com to join the Everydayer Club and unlock all access. And like I said, you can find all the links below in the show notes. A lot of Aggies won awards so far, Harrison. We're still seeing some roll in. Some Aggies are in contention for some other spots. Most notably, I think, in my opinion, and we're going to save the Joe Moore Award for the third segment, just so everybody knows, because that was the finalists were announced for that today, and it is ridiculous. But there are a few awards that have been won by Aggies so far. Most notably, I think, in my opinion, is Cashius Howell. He won the Defensive Player of the Year award for the SEC. He had an unbelievable season. He led the SEC in sacks. He had 11.5 going into the Texas game, and he was unable to get one there, obviously. So he finishes the year with 11.5 sacks. And, outside of potentially Colin Simmons, I can't really think of another one off the top of my head. It's really hard to imagine an edge that deserves this more than Cashius Howell, and to be the flat-out Defensive Player of the Year in the SEC is a very, very big honor because there's a lot of NFL talent in this conference.
Yeah, I don't know. Just keeping it at edge, like I don't know if there has been a defensive player that's been more havoc-inducing than Cashius Howell overall on defense this year. Because there is no Caleb Downs in this conference anymore. I'm trying to rack my brain. I don't think there is quite a defensive player other than maybe Colin Simmons that does induce that much fear in opposing offenses, game plans, and all that. Howell's been all over the field. And Matt, it's just crazy to think about coming into the year, thinking back to one of those first shows we did, I believe it was back in July, June, around that time. We were talking about the pass rush and looking, you lose Shamar Stewart, you lose Nick Scorton, you lose Shamar Turner on the interior, and we're looking around, we're like, man, they gotta take a pass rush unit that wasn't all too productive in total in terms of getting quarterbacks on the ground last year. And they not only have to replace NFL talent, 2 top 60 picks, but they got to do so and get after the quarterback at a much more effective rate. And somehow they've done that. And it's a guy that was on the roster last year, was a little bit more than just supporting cast. He was in the rotation, wasn't a starter, but Cashius Howell's turned into, rightfully so, one of the best defensive players, one of the best overall players in the SEC this year. And when we start talking about the NFL draft here in the next few weeks after the season's over, I imagine that's going to be a guy that's going to be in the conversation of one of the biggest risers in this draft class over the next few weeks in terms of what they've done for their stock this season.
Yeah, he was also, I think, 4th in the SEC. 4th in the SEC in tackles for loss with 14. Honestly, the only other player that I could think of that could compete with him for this award, at least in my opinion, I know we talked about Colin Simmons, 13.5 tackles for loss, 11 sacks. He was right there with Howell, but the only other one from a different position that I can think of that might have had a shot at this award was A.J. Halsey from LSU. He led the SEC in tackles. He was 2nd in interceptions. But he did not have the same kind of impact on football games that Cashius Howell did. So I'm glad they were able to give him that award because he certainly deserves it. Another big-time award that was received by an Aggie today, the Paul Hornig Award. KC Concepcion brings that home. That is awarded to the most versatile player in the country. It's hard to say that KC Concepcion is not the most versatile player in the country. He did just about everything for the Aggies in terms of, returning kicks and, jet sweeps and receiving and just about everything you could possibly think of. And he's kind of the definite, like if you looked up the Paul Hornung Award in the dictionary or whatever you want to say, you might see Casey Concepcion's picture next to it.
Yeah, you may very well. And isn't that kind of crazy to think about in terms of what he's meant to this football team, considering the portal additions that they made the last 2 offseasons? I mean, we talk about Cashius Howell, that's a former portal guy. Casey Concepcion, that's a portal guy. Like, that's 2 for 2 right there. Then you have Craver. You have some other guys in there. Jordan Shaw's played a role in this team from the portal. Like, just tremendous success from Elko and company in terms of getting these guys, identifying these guys, and then getting them on the roster. And I saw the video of the reaction when Elko announced it to the team. I personally just love seeing those videos, and you love seeing the reaction from the teammates, because it's not only just about the guy in the room that won it, but it's also about the guys who helped him get there and the guys who have been there and seen him behind the scenes, away from the bright lights. That was a special moment, and it's just, receiver went from being an obvious weakness to, as Elko said in that video, Matt, it was one of the most productive receiver rooms that they've had in program history for quite a long time.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm trying to find the other players that were the finalists for this award. I don't see them. Travis Hunter won it 2 years in a row, though, in 2024 and 2023. So that kind of tells you the effect that these kind of players have, and why Casey Concepcion is definitely a special player for winning this one. One more here. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to add this, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, Harrison pointed out to me via text a second ago that the Lombardi Award is being awarded tonight. I did not realize that was tonight. Cashius Howell is up for that one as well, and he would be a good bet to win it. He will have a really good shot. So we will see what happens there. One final award.
That is David Bailey, Cashius Howell, Caden Proctor, and Jacob Rodriguez. 2 Texas Tech guys, Alabama guy, and obviously Cashius Howell. I'd imagine, I mean, I think the only other ones maybe David Bailey and Jacob Rodriguez. I mean, maybe Caden Proctor gets it, but I think Howell has to be considered the favorite for that award.
Yeah, I believe it would be. I mean, typically that's a lineman award. I mean, a linebacker can win it, but typically linemen win that award, which is the only reason that I would count Rodriguez as kind of an underdog for that one. But he has been so good, so it really wouldn't shock me if he won it. But I would tend to think it's between Cashius Howell and David Bailey. And because I said all of those things, then Caden Proctor is probably going to win it, but we'll see. All right, let's move on to this final award real quick before our final segment here, Harrison. Trey Zuhn has won the Jacobs blocking trophy, which is awarded to the best blocker in the SEC. He was fantastic all season long. He has been extremely versatile for Texas A&M his entire career in College Station, and one of the best offensive linemen since he became an everyday starter for Texas A&M, period. This year was probably his best year, and that's saying something. Yeah,
and again, it's another guy that we're probably going to be talking about quite a bit over the next coming months in terms of draft and all that. This was, Matt, it's just kind of crazy. They have 6 starters essentially on the front, and they've played really well this year. And Trey Zuhn's kind of been the anchor for that. When he announced last year, I believe he was part of the guys last year that announced they were coming back. We talked about how big of a deal that was for that group to have that continuity and to go into this year and set themselves up to have a potential, deep playoff run. Trey Zuhn's going to get a lot of the credit as a part of that group for playing at such a high level. One of those top, offensive tackles in the SEC. It's literally a league, littered with NFL draft talent at those positions, especially at tackle. There's probably going to be 2 or 3 more first-round offensive tackles out of the SEC this year. And I believe there was even last year, too. So it just feels like every other year there is a top offensive tackle. There's probably 2 or 3 SEC offensive tackles going early in the NFL draft. And you're talking about Trey Zuhn being the best offensive lineman of all of it. That's high honor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Texas A&M had an incredible offensive line this year. It was the best in the SEC, in my opinion, which should mean something. Unfortunately, the Joe Moore Award, which goes to the best offensive line group in the country, doesn't agree. We'll talk about that next. Let's talk about something most men don't want to bring up, but absolutely should. Stress from work, money, life, it doesn't just switch off at night, and when it shows up at the worst possible time, Rougiette Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rougiette Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment created to support both both the brain and the body, so you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment arrives. Rougiette Ready combines 3 clinically proven ingredients in 1 mint that dissolves under your tongue, so it absorbs fast. And you connect with a board-certified doctor online, and everything ships discreetly to your door. So if you've been thinking about taking the next step, now's the time. Head to rougiette.com/lockedoncollege. That's RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege to get 15% off for your order for a limited time. Rougiette Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. Well, Harrison just sent me some breaking news that we don't need to talk about on this show, but we're going to anyway. Sherrone Moore just got fired from Michigan. What the hell? That's interesting. Right before the Citrus Bowl,
For
I did not
cause.
expect that. Yeah, very, very strange. I don't even know if this makes sense. I thought he was doing okay there. Maybe not exactly what Michigan wanted to do, but whatever. They're probably going to hire somebody big. The timing of this is ridiculous. I don't know why we're talking about Michigan. This is Texas A&M podcast.
I'm sorry.
The timing of this is insane.
That's just it popped up on during your ad read talking about what men don't talk about that they should be talking about. Sherrone Moore gets fired, and Matt, we had to at least mention it. I'm sorry for derailing your show.
No, absolutely fine. Wow. Okay, this is insane. The timing of this is insane. I don't understand. Why would you do that after everybody else already did it? That's Michigan for you. Anyway, the Joe Moore Award.
Talk about some Big Ten frauds. Let's talk about this award.
Yeah. Speaking of the Big Ten, what a fraud this is. So the Joe Moore Award goes to the best offensive line group in the country. It's not an individual award. It's a group award. The best 5 offensive linemen in the country, the best group that is the most productive in the country. Texas A&M was a finalist or a semifinalist for this award. They released the finalists today. 3 Big Ten teams, no SEC teams. I don't get that. Indiana is a finalist. Iowa is a finalist. Oregon is a finalist, but no Texas A&M. I get they didn't play particularly well against Texas. Maybe not in the first half against South Carolina, but I felt like they were pretty damn good all year long. I don't know, Harrison. I mean, give me your thoughts on this. I think this is kind of insane that they're not on this, at least a finalist for this award.
Can we just go ahead and just name this for what it is? This is the Iowa Award. I feel like Iowa has been a finalist for this award pretty much the majority of my life. Every single year, win, lose, or draw, points or points not, I was always on this list, and it baffles me. And I get it. Iowa does produce NFL offensive linemen. I get it. They do have a good offensive line. But for them to be year after year, whether they're averaging 70 points or 7 points a game, somehow their offensive line is getting on this list. Matt, I don't want to be that guy, but for all 3 finalists come from one conference, it's kind of a joke to me, especially when, what's it called? Everybody talks, when you talk about lines of scrimmage conferences, the SEC is in the dictionary of a line of scrimmage conference. And for 3 Big Ten teams to be in here, it's kind of a joke to me. Not any disrespect to those guys. I think Indiana played pretty well offensive line wise versus Ohio State, but I mean all three of those teams, Matt, basically played a 2-game schedule in their conference. 2 games. Yeah. Just 2. It's easy to get up for just 2 games a year. How about playing 12? Or heck, 8. I thought A&M's offensive line had played really well throughout the year, and I get it. The other week, the end of the season is not great. But not many teams have had spectacular performances versus the Texas offensive line. I think the best team that played against them in terms of offensive line performance was Georgia, but the reason Georgia got successful against them later in that game was because they had like 3 straight possessions due to the onside kick and all that. So, but yeah, you average over 200 yards per game on the ground rushing, and you allow just 12 sacks. You're not even a finalist for the award. I'm not sure. Folks talk about SEC bias all the time, but man, if there's such a thing as Big Ten bias, Matt, this is it.
I would say so. If you just look at the stats, Texas A&M has allowed less sacks than Oregon and Iowa and Indiana. Less sacks than all of them. Those are the 3 finalists. They're also behind only Oregon, I believe, or they're ahead of Iowa in running the football by quite a margin. Iowa averages 177.75 yards per game. That's 45th in the country. Texas A&M's 25th in the country, averaging 192.67 yards per game. They also have more rushing touchdowns. Oregon is 14th in the country in rushing. Indiana is 11th. Kind of seems like they just put Iowa in there to put Iowa in there because Texas A&M is better than Iowa in both pass protection and in rushing the football. So how can you really tell me that Iowa is better offensive line? I don't know. It doesn't really make sense, Harrison. It doesn't. But that's okay. These awards don't particularly matter. They're cool when you win them. If you lose them, whatever. I just think Texas A&M kind of got snubbed there, and it is what it is. But I'm going to go right about Michigan firing their head coach because that is absolutely insane to me. We'll see how that affects them going forward. Texas A&M's in a good spot, though, because they have a playoff game in approximately 10 days.
Right? Or, it's 10 days.
Yeah, December 20th. Never do math live on air, but it is 10 days away. So we will be previewing that as the week comes forward. Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Aggies today. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Aggies so you get all the latest episodes. You can find us on X at Locked On Aggies. You can find me on X at Matt Galatzan. You can follow Harrison on X at Harrison Reno. And did Locked On Aggies make your Spotify Wrapped? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform, and we will drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club and get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. For those of you on video, we send you the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is Locked On College Football. And, we'll see you next time. Dude, that is crazy. That is crazy. Why not do it a week ago?